The place I'm showing you in this video is very special and powerful. It is a special kind of place of coincidence, rare and precious because of its characteristics. This is a place where the Surem takes place, or rather where the Surem can take place, where it can arise when the right conditions are brought about, and where it nevertheless always remains complete and perceptible in the second attention. The subject of the Surem is mentioned in one of the books by Taisha Abelard or by Florinda Donner. I don't really remember which one. I think it was Florinda's book, Being in Dreaming. However, it is only mentioned almost in passing, and that is one of the reasons why I decided to make this video about the Surem. I felt the need to give a few more hints about it. I'll preface this by saying that the Surem is really a difficult subject to talk about. It's one of those things that you can only experience, and even when you have experienced it, it's impossible to talk about it in a really accurate way, even among people who have both experienced it. With respect to the linear mind, it's as elusive as few other things, and that's another reason why I decided to make this video. This gives me an opportunity to show you something that you will have no way of understanding, but which may break through to your totality in other ways, in the ways that are peculiar to the other side. Another reason why I do this video is that the Surem is what allows you to interact with the Nagual in an organized form. It is the only entity that allows you to do that. And yet another reason is that I have dealt with it. I have interacted with what the Toltecs call the Surem. As a result, I know the scope of it and the importance it can have in really overcoming the conceptual barriers that keep us stuck, despite the experiences that we may have in a non-ordinary context. The point is that witnessing the Surem confronts us with the inevitability of having to give up our obsession to understand and control. The Surem eludes us even as we experience it. It becomes so clear, and yet it remains absolutely shrouded in a sort of secret, in a place that is impenetrable to the mind. Even so, it works perfectly. It is the unequivocal demonstration that the flow of the world has nothing to do with our ability to understand and place everything in an order that is comfortable to us. I'm showing you this special place of coincidence in order to stimulate something very profound, and because maybe, if you find yourself in the right conditions, you can also be evoked by the Surem and encounter such a place. I have to make a premise though. Don't ask me two things about the content of this video. The first is where this place is. I protect it, so I don't reveal where it is. The Surem has to take you to it. It has to summon you. No one can lead you there. Only under special circumstances can someone lead you to the Surem. My teachers led me to participate in the Surem to rebalance what had happened to me in the Nagual. It was a special circumstance. The other thing is, don't ask me to explain better what I'm going to explain in the video. I can't explain it better than how I explain it here. You can't understand the Surem. You can only perceive it. You can experience it. You can take part in it and then be bound to the Surem forever. But I cannot offer you a better description than what is in this video. As far as I'm concerned, any attempt to put it in a more linear, more reasonable context only makes the matter more entangled. The Surem has to do with the Nagual. It's made up of beings, people or other beings, who have gone beyond belonging to a species. Beings connected to the Nagual, beings that are like openings on the nagual, which is then what the Toltecs actually are. The Surem consists of a non-permanent set of these beings that are openings on the nagual. Their combination is not permanent, it's mobile, but the essence of the Surem remains active even when their combination has dissolved or changed. Once the Surem has begun, it does not end, it remains manifest and succeeds itself. It is often perceived as a circle, not because circles are necessarily formed. The point is that the sensation leads to a circle because of how it works and what it does. The circular sensation of the Surem depends on the fact that the Surem is time itself. The beings that form it take on the fundamental essence of energy by becoming time. Time is circular, not because things come back. It is circular in another sense. Anyway, the feeling of circularity depends on that. Certainly, to produce a Surem, people can dispose themselves in a circle in the proper place, a place that already has a circle relative to time, like the space I'm showing you. When these beings, who are windows on the nagual, form a single entity, it coincides with time, like in an opening that is held suspended. It's like a suspended alignment, because the nagual is like suspended, not touching, and being suspended, it makes everything float, pushing everything into existence. The Surem is this entity of these beings that are openings on the nagual, that together unify. Actually, they don't unify, they open time together. Interacting with the Surem is a great fortune. That is also why I talk to you about it. It is much better, for example, than interacting with the ally. The Surem is impeccable, the energy moves perfectly, and the silence is absolute. The condition of intensity is perfectly stable. There is the exact acquiescence, the kind that allows, for example, to govern transitions, to have an unbending intent. The balance with the nagual is unwavering. The Surem also clarifies another thing, like nothing else. Forget Mexico, the Toltecs, nagualism, everything. It is not about where we are born, what culture we're part of, what we do in life, what species we belong to, not even what alignment we live in. The new seers, these beings we call the new seers, are very clear that it's not a question of all of that. It's not about belonging to something that makes the difference. Instead, it is a question of participation. The question is whether we participate in the world or not. If we participate in the world, we are alive and belong to nothing. On the other hand, if we have the belief that we belong to something, to a nation, to a people, to a culture, to a species, to a condition, then we are locked in that, and we don't participate in the world. Either one thing or the other. As soon as the Surem touches you and affects your configuration, your energy composition, at that moment you're guided out of belonging and into participation. This is another reason why it is the Surem itself that evokes us and not the other way around. We must have created a particular availability in our energy configuration, a kind of notch or space that is produced by silence and by frequenting the nagual. That space becomes a hook for the Surem.